If you look at the world today, I think with AI, when you think about, can I be profitable? I think there's companies, as you said, they're indie companies, I think we call them, right? It's like a one person or maybe two people, maybe three, right? A very small team running a company that is completely profitable, makes a ton of money, and they're serving global base or maybe local base of customers, whatever that looks like, right? But that was not possible before the age of AI, right? Because you just needed so many people to do the job. And now even a very small team can achieve what was seemed impossible back in the days. And I think it's the same thing that people are applying to not indie companies, but creating a brand online, right? If you have LinkedIn, and I think it's like one of those things when people look for jobs. If you're not seen online, if you're not online, you just don't exist almost. Right? No one gets a job by sending a resume in. But if I've seen you, I like your content, I'm interacting with you, there's something that you have to share. I think everyone has a lot of value to share online, whatever that is. You can be doing whatever on a daily basis. I think you have a lot to share. It's just like, how do you put that together in a post? And sometimes the raw thoughts that happen, right? If you can just scribble them and give it to AI and say, hey, I want this in my voice. Can you do that for me? And that starts to become that, hey, I got a post now. Maybe you can use AI to say, hey, this is my post. I want to make a video online. Can you give me a script to my short form video? And then there's a script happening, right? Then you record this content. Then you say, hey, maybe give me the best moments to share. Kind of gone from like needing different teams to achieve the exact same thing to now just piece of AI that does it, not only all of it, but also does it in a time frame where you can get the time back to yourself.
In this podcast, I chat with Ajay Yadav about the future of AI in creative industries and the democratizing power of AI for small businesses and independent content creators. Ajay is a co-founder of Simplified, a software that enables its customers to become a media company by providing the tools needed for pre-production, creation, repurposing, and social media management, all in one tool. We explore the ubiquity of content creation tools like Adobe, which was more of an expert-driven utility, to something like Canva, who's aiming to be a more user-friendly platform. However, the pain point remains in collaborative work, especially post-pandemic, when teams are distributed and struggling to navigate different platforms and software and managing different headcounts and wasting money on licenses just to have that one person from the other team on the tool. And this is how Simplified aims to target teams of people rather than the experts that work on the tool by consolidating workflows based on role and incorporating AI to enhance their end-to-end tooling. Let's welcome Ajay onto the show. I really enjoyed this interview, and it gave me a different perspective on the trends of content creation. If you are interested in developing your own personal brand, but you don't know where to start, this conversation is for you. And anybody that is interested in developing their career, Ajay's career is a great example of looking at a problem, reframing it from a macro perspective, and executing on creating something that larger and larger user bases, aka teams, orgs, can buy into. Let's get started. Welcome to The Way of Product, a podcast designed for creative technologists who love to explore, design, and build things that are useful and desirable. Did you know that the average tenure of a product executive is just 2 years? 2 years! This is because often they struggle to make meaningful impact with their teams. I'm your host, 𝗂𝗀𝗃. I'm a product designer who doesn't pin my value to my job description and isn't afraid to go outside my job requirements to make something successful. I care more about the product development process. In short, I see myself as more of a creative technologist that uses technology as a liberal art to make great products. Forget about roles, operating models, and best practices for at least 1 hour today. And let's focus on the groups of individuals who live for this game and spend their free time improving and honing their abilities to deliver more value to the market. This podcast isn't for you if you rigidly adhere to frameworks, weaponize job titles, or see no value in interpersonal skills. There's plenty of other podcasts that talk about that stuff. But if you're someone who wants to feel confident in your abilities, enjoy productive collaborations with stakeholders, and find satisfaction in the work you believe in, then this is where you need to be. If this resonates with you, hit that subscribe button and imagine waking up every morning feeling excited to do work you love and being paid well for it. This is what The Way of Product can help you achieve. Thank you for listening. Jay, welcome to the show. Before we get started, can you briefly introduce yourself to the listener and then let's jump into it? I'm really excited for this conversation.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I'm Ajay Yadav. I'm an immigrant entrepreneur, been building companies since I was 17, and I'm now building Simplified. It's an AI-powered design and video content creation platform, helping marketing teams.
Before this interview, in my research, I did look at the marketing pages for your site, and a thought came to me because if you've been a long time listener to the show, I've only done maybe 12 or 24 episodes a year for 5, 6 years now. And it was more of just a slow rollout. And it was always audio only. Like I wouldn't do video. I
Oh,
wouldn't do
wow.
like social media. Like I would just do the LinkedIn post and then use referrals to find more guests. But the idea of scaling it to like Gary V status or attempting to do something robust in promotion terrified me. And when ChatGPT came out this last year, like I saw the potential of it, of the technology to actually like assist. And then this year, by the time this is released, I am going weekly promotion schedule, robust scheduling on TikTok, like all that stuff. I've invested in processes and SOPs and systems to do it. I'm sure I'm not the only one. As soon as we saw that, like what these large language models can do, we jumped on the opportunity to be like, there's so many things we can improve. And so for you, like what led to you starting another social media platform, and how did AI push you over the edge to go grind it out in a startup in a pretty saturated
Yeah.
like social media planning creation? What made you want to do that? And maybe you could talk about that story of what inspired you to do it.
It's crazy to see that the world is just talking about AI, like very casually. I think this was a term, AI was a term that was used by mostly engineers or like the data scientists. It was a thing that was like used by, I say, professionals, right? And now everyone, all of us, anyone in the world can talk about AI. And that's a really amazing thing that's happening. And I think for us, that was around post-pandemic. I think what happened post-pandemic, we saw this massive influx of content that was being created, right? By people online. But one thing that was happening, we went from like teams in person to teams remote. The whole world was remote. And we were like, if you had to design today some sort of like marketing campaign, we're all about like marketing because I came from my background running startups actually. And my partner, Katie, he was in the bigger companies like Facebook and Uber, so enterprise level. And we both post-pandemic were discussing, hey, you know what? This is sort of the world where we've seen teams when they're designing marketing campaigns in office, and bigger companies have the issue of they got too many softwares, too much money, and still felt like it's a broken process, like a workflow. And I came from a perspective where startups and small businesses would not have that much money and still smaller teams, but they were still living in these 4 or 5 apps to design one marketing campaign. And now these teams are not in person. How do you help these people actually collaborate in real time online and go from sort of the thinking about a campaign to getting the campaign out of the door? We saw content creation go from like long form video to short form video, from clubhouses, from tweets, blogs, and short form articles and Reddit and Quora. So I think content just shifted massively, and AI was happening around the same time. So we wanted to build something, a space where marketing teams can come together and design the next marketing campaign, from graphics to videos to writing a good marketing copy and then publishing to social media. So it's all in one app that can help you do that. And the premise of that was simply teams are distributed. Let's build something online that can feel like we all work together in this space that feels more collaborative, and we can get things done faster. AI happened to be, I think, in the right time when we were just starting out the company, actually.
Yeah, I'm looking at 2 years old. You are officially older. No, 2 years and 11 months. I need to round up. You're almost at 3 years
Yes,
being in
almost three
business.
years. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations. You are older than ChatGPT. So obviously,
Yes.
like the popularity you were doing AI before it was cool.
We were doing the foundation stuff, right? I think the way I'm having, being on this podcast now, if you look at the world, right? Content creation, I think, has been one of those hardest things for people. even teams and individuals and creators, it doesn't matter who you are, right? It's actually hard. It's hard to be on the camera. Hey, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to make a video today. Or, hey, I'm going to write a blog post, right? Or I'm going to write that tweet or a thread, right? It's always been hard for people to create content. And I think we've been seeing a shift where the days of Adobe, where you need to be an expert, right? You need to learn the tool to be an expert. You go to an institute, maybe a school, maybe a class online, like you're an Adobe expert. That was a thing, I think, a decade ago, actually. And then the content creation shifted from being experts to, I think, Canva came along, right? Adobe Spark came along, where you said, hey, I have this template. I can take a template. I can change a couple of things here and there. I still have to write my own copy. And now I got my campaign done much faster. That came Simplified. We gone from being an expert, being templatizing, and Simplified was like, let's build a foundation for design and video, and then we'll add AI on top of it. So now instead of you choosing a template, you can say, hey, AI, this is what I'm looking for. Give me a post for selling my new shoe store online. Or maybe I want to write a blog post about why should people do their first round, right? Whatever that looks like. So we gone from template to AI, and we were at the right time, at the right place to have that technology power our software that was already built to support design and video creation. So that's who we were. And AI happened to be the right time, right place. Now we're seeing this influx where content creation is still, I think, difficult. You still have to do the work, but it's, I think, 10 times easier to get started, at least using AI. And that's changing the game for creators and small businesses, right? Because you see this pattern where bigger companies have always had the resources, and smaller companies and teams of 5, 10 people or 20 people have always struggled, right? Because you have to hire all these people, a designer, a videographer, right? And you have some like writing copy and then managers. AI helps you do that much faster, even with a team of like small team of 3 or 4, maybe 5. But you're not expanding your budget, right? You're kind of expanding the content that you can produce and be online and actually support your business so that people can find you online and you can make more money.
Yeah, when I was exploring using like Zapier automations to do like a first draft of a post, like the OpenAI, like if you're doing like the 3.5, the cost a task is like 3 cents or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's basically the cost of labor has just gone significantly lower. Like you're still paying money, but it's like it's 3 cents. And like looking at just doing a quick like audit of like your software and then seeing where a lot of tools are going. We're recording this on Squadcast and it's a Descript company. So Descript acquired them, and how a lot of these products are created is like the problem isn't making the artifact anymore. It's how can we make the smallest number of people a media company in a world where content is cheap and attention is cheap. Now the problem isn't about making like an iconic poster when the cost of distribution was so high. Now that cost of distribution is so cheap, it's like, how can we increase volume and become ubiquitous and just increase the amount of touch points with a customer? And looking at your tool, it seems like that's the thesis.
I think there's several problems that I think where AI comes into play. And the first one is the content creation itself. I think that's the easiest thing now with idea generation and whatnot, right? And everyone is doing it. I think we're moving to a phase where you have the content. What do you do with it? I think it's a real challenge, right? Even if you imagine this podcast, you'll have like 45 minutes to 1 hour podcast. The amount of work it takes from taking a podcast to publishing like 10 reels online, it is a real work, right? You would have to edit the content, you have to add captions to it, maybe find the right music for this one, and especially find the right moments from something, a long form video, as a Zoom recording, webinars, and podcasts. And we recently have been working on a feature on an app that can do that. So we're going from transition through the starting content to finishing up the job, because idea creation is amazing, writing, coming up with ideas and in actual posts and whatnot. But if you don't finish the job of like actually creating the content and publishing online, you don't see that content growth for your business or yourself as a creator, right? So we just launched an app actually, and it does that. You upload 1 hour piece of video and we'll give you like 10 reels back. We find the AI can detect speaker, your voice, your lip syncing, also detect the best moments that people should be like viral clicks, basically. So we can do all of that. And before AI, this would take you, I think, maybe as low as 4 hours to maybe a day or two, actually, to just do that process and then push it online. And you want to see like what's resonating with the user base, like the audience that you have online. So now we've gone from not just like ideation, but actually finishing up the job using AI. So that's the most exciting piece happening today, at least for us in the industry.
Yeah. And I do feel that AI is what the personal computing industry was back in like the 80s, where it is this gold rush. And the person that could figure out how to actually turn it into a force multiplier, not just like functionally
Yeah.
up to spec. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot. I mean, I do a lot of buy versus build. Okay, should I like delegate to this AI platform to find my reels, or should I use Descript to find my reels in the and but it's like the feature isn't what matters. It's what a human being can do. Like you think about one of the biggest problems of this day and age is inflation, the end of company loyalty to an employee, right? Where the growth of the gig economy and individual LLCs being created for people to make their own brand. And like COVID, that exacerbated that. So here's a great example of how COVID impacted my aunt-in-law, where she was at a immigration law firm. She was working for someone else. And then she started like doing Facebook Lives and TikToks, just testing it out because it's like, I heard that this is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Maybe like I heard Gary Vee talk about it. And then when COVID hit, she got fired. And it's like, hey, when you're looking at the void, starting a business when you're desperate, it makes a lot of sense. And so she started this, and then all of a sudden the TikTok, her account grew, and now she's driving like almost too much business than she could handle into her immigration
Wow.
law firm. Right. And shout out to Jen Lange, Fuentes Lange Immigration. If anyone's listening, amazing immigration attorney. But it's this idea that job security has never been further away or worse. And the ability to market yourself on the internet has never been cheaper. And
Yeah.
if you could lower that barrier of entry to someone that might have the skills to be self-employed, but they don't know how to like enter into the market and go to where people are and produce enough volume to like compete in the noise, then like AI doesn't matter.
And it's like, if you look at the world today, I think with AI, when you think about, can I be profitable? I think there's companies, as you said, they're indie companies, I think we call them, right? It's like a one person or maybe two people, maybe three, right? A very small team running a company that is completely profitable, makes a ton of money, and they're serving global base or maybe local base of customers, whatever that looks like, right? But that was not possible before the age of AI, right? Because you just needed so many people to do the job. And now even a very small team can achieve what was seemed impossible back in the days. And I think it's the same thing that people are applying to not indie companies, but creating a brand online, right? If you have LinkedIn, and I think it's like one of those things when people look for jobs. If you're not seen online, if you're not online, you just don't exist almost. Right? No one gets a job by sending a resume in. But if I've seen you, I like your content, I'm interacting with you, there's something that you have to share. I think everyone has a lot of value to share online, whatever that is. You can be doing whatever on a daily basis. I think you have a lot to share. It's just like, how do you put that together in a post? And sometimes the raw thoughts that happen, right? If you can just scribble them and give it to AI and say, hey, I want this in my voice. Can you do that for me? And that starts to become that, hey, I got a post now. Maybe you can use AI to say, hey, this is my post. I want to make a video online. Can you give me a script to my short form video? And then there's a script happening, right? Then you record this content. Then you say, hey, maybe give me the best moments to share. Kind of gone from like needing different teams to achieve the exact same thing to now just piece of AI that does it, not only all of it, but also does it in a time frame where you can get the time back to yourself. And that looks like, I think, because that's the biggest challenge, right? If you're busy doing the grow your business or you as a personal brand.
Yeah, without having to hire people, because there are so many people, I feel like in a lot of ways, TikTok's made the world a better place. Now, hear me out before you turn off this episode. I feel like my marriage is better after TikTok. I feel like my parenting's better after TikTok because it lowered the barrier of entry for just normal people, doctors, therapists, to be able to just produce something like and give advice
Yeah.
at scale, right? And that's like the real magic of AI technology and phone technology is that it's just the ability to just be known by more people and find your tribe has never been easier. And for me, like the biggest benefit of the podcast, because I'm not like this like big commercially successful podcast with purple mattress and the ad and stuff like that. But only doing like 12 episodes a year was enough to get job security, like just to have enough people that want to hire you, where it just gives you the confidence to be like, oh, if I just wanted to be employed the rest of my life, like I know I'll be fine. Just doing 12 episodes a year. That's all you have to do. If anyone's like considering just trying to participate in social media, becoming like producing some kind of content, that's possible. Now, if you want to be like self-employed, like Lenny's podcast, you have to produce more than that. You have to increase volume. And how do you do that in a cost-effective way? What do you have a thesis on like how you guys are developing your product that like could help a lay person? And I'm talking like solopreneur, like because the listeners of this podcast are like ambitious product people, might not want to be like marketing, probably no marketing agency people listening right now. What would you say to them? Like, how are you solving that barrier to entry and that problem with your?
Really good point. I think the first step is to start creating content, right? That's really what it is. I create a lot of content. I personally actually crossed, I think, 100,000 followers on LinkedIn actually. And that's been like creating content for so long and just being consistent with it, right? Doesn't matter what likes you get as long as you're sharing value. That helps. I started creating reels myself, maybe touching 10,000 followers on Instagram. It's still small. But what I'm learning from this way is that and as a creator myself, before you and we help businesses use Simplified, I use Simplified myself. And the way I do this is like having that workflow in one place, because I think the big content creation is getting the job done. It's very important. This thing that I keep saying, because many people have ideas, but actually getting it done is just so difficult. And if you use like multiple apps, I'm using some tool for my project management, then I'm using some tool for getting a script, and I'm using some tool for like transcribing and adding subtitles to my videos. And oh my God, I'm paying so many tools. I don't have the time to do it. It just takes too much time and the workflow is like completely broken. So the way Simplified comes into play is designed for teams, but can be used by solo people. Is I do all of it, right? I can go from like using the AI writing app in the platform to have my ideas done, to take that idea to now, let's say, video scripting app within the tool. You can do that. Now, if you record the video, you can upload the same video to the exact same app, video app again. We'll add like subtitles to it. Whatever the famous subtitles they're running online. We do all of those things. And then you can do repurposing content. So the big thing is the workflow, I think, is the core for our company, where you complete the process in a way that is effective. You save time and also save money. Not like super heavy, expensive, like crazy tools out there. So you do save money and time. And then once you're done with it, you can now publish all that to your social media using Simplified. So now you get to see, okay, I have my content creation happening here. I publish all of it to social media. Now I can see how that's performing. Like I go and see my TikTok views on Simplified, or I think my YouTube views and say, oh, that was a good video because it had a strong hook. Let me take it back to AI now. Hey, maybe give me like 10 more scripts with a stronger hook, right? And here's what the video that works. So AI will understand that. Go back and forth a couple of times. Now you have a new script. Try it again. Put it online again and see if that performs better. So I think every time you do this, you get to improve. But imagine now you're going to log into TikTok and YouTube to see your stats. Then go back and take notes in some other app and tool to figure out what you're learning from there. I think this can all happen within one platform.
And you look at the most successful content creators. Let's start like 2014 was like when 𝗲𝗍 started doing his daily vlog. And 𝗲𝗍, I think, shifted the whole like seismic tectonic plates of, what do you say? Like that. And then I remember listening to a podcast like Casey Neistat around the same time did like his daily vlog. And he talked about the level of work he did to be able to pull that off.
Yeah.
Like he basically filmed all day, edited all night, hit publish or schedule like at 2 a.m, got sleep, and then did it over again for I think 2 to 3 years. And you think like back then it was like how you compete is you hire a team, you have the money to hire a team, or you have the ability to grind through inconvenience. It's like Casey's probably like jumping between Final Cut Pro and going to like through
All the apps.
YouTube and then all the apps, all the things. And now you're trying to just remove that inconvenience to just put it into one place that raises the bar now
Yeah.
on who's posting what.
I think it's a bigger issue when you look at like content creation in general, let's say for small businesses, right? You either have a budget issue where you feel like, okay, I think if you look at the layers or we serve a lot of businesses in America where they're like the traditional businesses. You look at the car dealership, you look at the real estate brokers, you look at the restaurants, you look at like the med spas, physiotherapy, all these amazing like businesses that are running across the country, right? And I think when I look at them, the question we ask ourselves, see, these businesses have a budget issue. Because the thing that if I have to hire all these people, as you said, exactly like a video team and now a content writing team, then some sort of like social media manager, right? And then whatever you do, that's going to take money. At the same time, you have customers looking for a solution online. So if you're not online, you're like, okay, all these businesses are not online, right? Or some of them, most of them. What if they can go online? If you're searchable online, you're seen online, you have this base, you're telling a story, right? How you're helping your community and whatnot. If you share those stories, successes, and your advice and whatever that brand you want to build as a small business, then you might end up getting more business because now people get to see you. But that is a budget constraint that is hard to overcome. And that's where apps like Simplified, even like 𝗲Ｈ𝗱, whatever that is, right? You have these apps coming online with AI. In our case, we say, hey, you know what? Let's onboard your business without actually increasing your budget for this marketing. But we want you to go online. In this case, now they finally get to do a lot more things because AI is there to lower your cost. And once you start seeing the money flowing in through your business, now you make more money, you're willing to invest more money into these apps and people. And the exact same thing happens to the creator, right? Because when the creator stuck with, hey, if I'm not using AI and apps like Simplified, I have to hire this team, I don't have the money. So now I want to create content that I can monetize, but I don't have the money to create content, so I cannot monetize. It's like the chicken and the egg, right? In this case, you feel like, okay, I don't have to spend that much money. Maybe let me create content first because it's cheaper. And if that content somehow takes off, I can be hired by companies and brands to actually make that extra income. So I can reinvest in that and grow a team that can help me do content even better, more personalized, learn from my own what's working, what's not working, and then expand that team to actually become a professional content creator where you make a ton of money. And that's what TikTok has done, right? You see so many creators that are being sponsored by so many companies because when it actually works, people want to buy products from creators or small businesses where there's authentic piece of information that is available online. They're just sharing their knowledge, sharing what helps everyone else. And if that resonates with you, I want to buy a product from you. I want to buy whatever you're selling, right? And that's where companies going to hire those creators because there is a trust between them and the audience that they build by creating a lot of content. But you have to get started first. And I think that's where the miss is the money or how do you get started with the content creation journey?
Yeah. And also I'd add the other constraint is just like the knowledge constraint of what goes into producing a video. Like I don't think I would be here today if it wasn't for the original co-host of this show. And he actually had audio engineering experience, and we edited the first few episodes in GarageBand, or maybe it was like Pro Tools or something like that, and listen for like errors in the sound and then cut the sound. And him just teaching me how to use that tool got the ball rolling. And then Cam, if you're listening to this, love you, man. And then eventually, even then, we found out it's a part-time job to like produce a show. You have to like, get the guests and all that stuff if you want to do like an interview show. And so I think a lot of people, and what TikTok did really well is it made it like so easy to produce a video, gave you the tools to put some captions on, and it handled a lot of that stuff. And a lot of people benefited from that early organic reach. And now it's like, okay, like TikTok, we're a big deal now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's like, okay, how do I get started, but how do I stay relevant now that everyone found out how easy it is to make something with your phone, and handheld selfie videos are performing better than multi-million-dollar Netflix shows. Like, yeah. Okay, we're going to take a quick break from our scheduled programming. If you're enjoying this podcast and you've gotten any value out of it so far, I have a special request for you. I'm currently writing a book on product team collaboration, and I want to get the message out there. So if you want to take a moment and hit subscribe in your podcast app, that would mean the world to me, and it would be super helpful in booking better guests, getting better content out there, and getting the message of this book out to more people. So whether you have to pause this podcast or you like multitasking while listening to it, just take a moment and hit subscribe on the show page and show your support. Again, thanks for listening. Now back to the show.
Yeah. Also, like, I think if you look at online, I think what we're seeing with AI is the capability to analyze data, right? Because AI is just not, hey, you know what, give me ideas and write something for me and create something for me. This or this. You can actually train AI models and AI itself, even basic, I'm saying basic stuff. Hey, you know what? I see these 10 videos that are performing really well. They're in my niche. I like these videos. I think I have similar value systems and I want to share this stuff online. So can you take them and analyze them for me and say, what is the CTA? What is the starting point? What is the pain point? You can actually ask the AI to give you the information back. It analyzes the data, right? And then you can say, okay, I got the pain point. I got the CTA. Now here's how I would do this. And can you give me the script back to me? Or can you now write a blog post on this exact script? I think so. You can take the content that is working for other people, analyze it using AI, produce something new that is yours because of your brand, voice, and tone, right? Put it online, see how it works, and repeat. And do this again and again. I think there's a consistency factor where people say, to start being a content creator, you have to start publishing online on a daily basis. It's the same thing for businesses, right? If you shared one success story every single day on any channel that you have from TikTok, as a small business, then, there's a chance that people might like that or might start finding your stories like whatever that is. They're known for like, hey, I love that business shares these authentic success stories of people who have gotten help, blah, 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 or they love their product. And I think that becomes a niche for you. And then you start to create more of that content and see maybe which story performs better, even from those success stories. Double, triple down. But being consistent is where you have to come up with these ideas. And even that's hard. That's it.
Yeah. And what you just said highlights like why, especially anyone listening that's a craft person, like a design, or like an engineer, you actually have like when AI automates trending graphic design patterns and stuff like that, you now have more time to do design thinking as it was intended. There's this IDEO article saying, is design thinking dead? And I'm like, I actually think the conditions are being set that we could actually be more thoughtful in our approach to problems, because now we don't have to like budget time to doing the actual execution work, or at least get the execution work to 80% and then refine it to be a little bit better. And pre-production is like a huge problem because you might have ADHD like me. And some days I feel really good and inspired and very thoughtful. And I write killer posts on LinkedIn. Other days I can't put the puzzle pieces together. And if I had to post every day and I have to write a script or an article every single day, that's overwhelming for most people.
It is. And I think of it now in terms of, and it's like we see like a lot of businesses used to start having these marketing teams, right? Because the problem with marketing has been, I think, is people start a lot, but I think rarely finishes the job, right? It's just like, because I think when you look at the social traffic or organic traffic, right? If you're doing something on writing articles for Google, right? Creating landing pages and blogs and whatnot, or you create social videos on TikTok and Instagram as a business or as a creator, the problem is exactly the same. You'll start creating content with some of the complex tools, let's say without AI, right? And then after a month or two, you often don't see results. You don't see like this instant gratification that, hey, you know what? Oh my God, like I just did something, it's taken off. Even if you create like 12 episodes a year, you might wait for like maybe 6 months, maybe 1 year exactly to see, oh my God, some people actually are now listening to my podcast. I should more, right? But most people are going to quit And most businesses in that first 6 to 12 months, that's like the end of the journey. And then they never got to really see what can happen. The thing is that because you get so tired of this creating everything by yourself and paying so much money for these type of services and tools. And now I think one thing we're seeing for sure, like people on Simplified create, if I give you some examples, like presentations. We see the most use case in Simplified is like people create presentations using AI, like I think millions of them. Then they're creating like carousels. They're creating the thumbnails for the videos. They're repurposing video content. They're adding all the subtitles to it. So it's like millions and millions of assets being created on the platform. And we see now. So now if they have enough assets for the next 3 to 6 months and they spend a week creating that sort of like pipeline, you don't feel like, oh my God, I did so much every month to get there. But now you can wait and see what happens. And you're learning from the data as you go on a real time basis. And that might inspire you to keep going because the goal is to keep going and see if this works for you. And if this does work for you, then you want to invest more time and money to get it done and find some success in social or organic traffic that now is possible using AI. Before it was just possible, but the money was just too much to invest and get the job done.
So you've spoken a little bit to this. Another thing that terrifies me as a content creator. You're welcome for the problem space interview for your podcast, but something that really scares me as a content creator, out of all the things I have to do, is the build, measure, learn. Like the learn part is I don't like it's like I have this knowledge gap of okay, cool. I have all these visits and stuff like that to my site after releasing these episodes, or like get the data is not enough. Like I need to know what to do with the data. And you mentioned that AI could analyze the data and it could be trained on like the model of an expert marketing analyst. It's like why it's performing well and like what was doing well about it. Is that like part of your analytics, is being able to ask it like, hey, why do these videos do well?
Yeah, for now you can, and this is a good question because you want to know what exactly is working. You want to know exactly what's working, like really close to that solution. And for now, we don't of course support that you can ask Simplified that, hey, on analytics, give me this thing, but you can do it using Simplified. I think the way you do it is once you publish content using Simplified, like your videos on social channels, like whatever, TikTok and Pinterest and YouTube, whatnot, you can see the stats. And once you find that 3 videos perform better than those, let's say 10 videos, right? You take those videos, you can get transcription using Simplified. So your video uploaded to Simplified, they will give you transcripts automatically. So you have all the text from that video. If you take that to Simplified's AI writing app and give it to the AI and say, hey, you know what? These 3 videos, here are the transcripts. They perform really well. Can you find a common pattern in these videos? Describe the pain point for each video, give it a CTA and hook for each of these and see if there's similar patterns in these. And I think the AI will tell you right away what are the patterns, what are the pain points, and then you take that, give it a new idea and say, now use the pain point, similar pain point, the same style to create a brand new script for my new video. And that's it. And then you have a new video and then you create a couple of them and just post it online again and see what happens. And there's ways to do it, but before it would be almost impossible.
But yeah. And you've contained the feedback loop in the tool, right? Because now the script that was informed by the successful videos makes more successful videos. And then you feed that back into the feedback loop and it just keeps making like the secret sauce.
More and more of that.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm really myself. Cool. I have a couple of videos that did better on YouTube and I'm putting them online and getting the feedback from AI. And now I have new scripts that I'm writing using AI and just try those. And I've also been able to figure out my tone is crazy. You have to spend time with AI. I was like using Simplified to try to show a blurb about myself as a founder. And I was submitting an application online on Microsoft actually. And it gave me this really good piece of blurb about myself. Like, why am I the right founder to build Simplified? And that was like so amazing. I asked, wow, this is like to the point spot on my tone. Then I asked Simplified AI, hey, can you describe the tone for me so I can use this all the time in all of my writing? Yeah, it gave me the tone back. And now when I write a piece of content, I give the tone back to this, hey, write me this thing. And now here's my tone. Can you rewrite this using my tone? And it is mind blowing. But you have to invest time using these AI apps, right? And to just spend time with them because sometimes people don't have the patience to like work with it. hey, there's success because now we're both working together as a team. It's not like one or the other. You got to work as a team with AI, but you have to spend time and training it.
And you have to learn the principles of delegation, which, I mean, people don't want to learn basic skills, take the time to learn coding or anything like that. No, there's a lot of like very driven, ambitious people have a hard time handing over control even to AI, because you like have to learn how to articulate your thoughts. You have to know what you want. Sometimes you don't know what you want, but yeah, just taking the time to learn it is super powerful. Now, this is something that LinkedIn has been doing these expert articles or like collaborative articles. And quickly on TikTok, a lot of career influencers are like, oh, here's how to get a badge. It's easy. Like you feed the question and then you have ChatGPT response, you post that, you do that for a few weeks, you get a top voice badge. You've immediately cheapened the top voice with AI. And there is this concern that even if it's AI, is it going to cheapen the experience of social media in a lot of ways if it's not generated by a human? What are your thoughts?
Still, I do believe that people like authentic content in every form, right? If you said, hey, I'm really big into mountain biking, unless you share experiences of being a mountain biker, right? Like really to you, right? And what you have seen and done in the past decade, let's say as an example. I don't think AI would have that. AI wouldn't have your voice. And of course, if you give, I think this is how I think about, give us scribbles. It's almost like sticky notes, almost like your rough writing, and let AI craft the message for you. So I think people can see through that. And eventually, if there's a lot of content being created using AI that is not authentic, real to who you are, and you're sharing these valuable lessons with the community, right, and audience, then I think people are not going to resonate with that versus someone, because there's still the two sides to it, right? There's one who just uses AI and there's one who uses AI with their own personal feedback. This feedback loop is very important, right? Your lessons and your valuable insights. If that is with AI, then you probably would have that resonate much better with the audience versus the first one, just AI. So I think it's up to people what they do with it. But I do think that the algorithms are gonna tell you what people like. And if you like it, they show more of it. So I do think that human input is very important when you're using AI.
Yeah, like if it resonates, even if it was through genius prompt engineering to regenerate your tone and your voice. And I have been experimenting with like a GPT trained on all my articles, and then I have it try to write scripts in my voice, and it's pretty good. But
it does a good job.
All my content, like I always review it to be more of an amplifier of my voice rather than replace the effort it takes to share your authenticity to people. There's this really great story. I forgot the book, but there's a story about Andy Warhol where people said he wasn't an artist because he had a whole studio producing his art for him. Like he had other artists working under him on project, and his studio is called The Factory, and they were just pumping out works of art. But it still had like his essence in it. He was basically doing ChatGPT, but with human labor and interns, I'd imagine. But everything is still Warhol. It still has his name signed on the end of it.
Yeah.
And you can't argue that like he wasn't a good artist, because his work, even though he was more of a editorial creative director, maybe doing the final touches and mentoring, coaching the designers, like it resonated with people, and people wanted it on their walls, like these prints. And just because you weren't blood, sweat, and tears on every little detail, didn't originate from you and your hands typing on a keyboard, doesn't mean that it doesn't represent you and your brand. Kind of my takeaway from that.
And this is a good one, right? Because there's a market for all kinds of stuff, right? I think people like different products for a reason. So I think if this allows, because I think what we're not talking about is that market that this is creating. People who couldn't create content or start companies or be freelancers, right? Whatever that was before. If something was stopping you from doing that, and I think in some form that was communication, that was either writing, or that was design experience, or maybe video experience. If you don't never had that experience and now you can using AI, then that brings money to me and there's a market for that skill or job and AI is helping me unlock that, right? Then why not? The designer cannot get the time back. How do you still become great at design thinking, right? Because you don't have the time to think. So if you get that time back using AI in any capacity, even a great marketer, I think, needs time to think of the next big campaign, next big idea that just comes to you when you're randomly thinking nothing or on a walk. But if you're constantly busy producing, I think, content or marketing campaigns, you don't have the time to think of the next big thing. And if AI helps,
Yeah. I can't stress enough, like that it's not about knowing a lot of people when it comes to like relationship capital. It's about who knows you. If the ratio of people that know you is like bigger than who you'll never want for anything in your life, as long as you're being valuable. And the takeaway from this episode is now like the cost of building software and the complexity of building software. There's a lot of like standard patterns, standard infrastructures like AWS, standard experience patterns to interact with like basic CRUD workflows. And for listeners that don't know what CRUD means, it's create, review, edit, delete, which is most software. Like that's the vanilla layer of software. That in order to unlock like human potential, you have to do these big end-to-end software suites now. So that's where market's going. Consolidate all these workflows that lead to this one outcome of, in your guys' case, like generating, turning the organization or the individual that buys into your software into a media company. Like, what were some like the challenges of tackling all those different workflows? Because that like totally goes against lean principles now, but I'd argue that you can do it lean because of how cheap it is to do software and how much established patterns there are. Like, what were the challenges of doing this big end-to-end workflow? In 3 years, by the way, 3 years, that's not a lot. I mean, that's a lot of time in software years, but I still think it's pretty impressive that you're supporting all this type of work in one tool.
Thank you. It was difficult. I think that's where maybe having been building companies since I was 17, 18-ish, for 17 plus years now, and my co-founder. The one thing we sort of brought into this company was the speed. And we realized from OpenAI how fast they were releasing stuff. Right? And before that, we were building a company. We really optimized the company for speed. In 3 years, we thought, you know what, if we can get to market as fast as we can, the only thing we can optimize is speed. Let's ship as fast as we can. We still ship every week. We've been shipping for 3 years every week. All we care about is like just execution. That helped get through these apps and not cutting corners in these apps either. So we were like, let's build design first. We got to this place much faster. Then that design learning taught us to build a video platform. That was a little bit faster than the design one. And then the AI writing was the fastest one that we built. And then found a team that did social media management for 9 years. We acquired the companies. I think all in all, when we brought this team together, our focus was that let's go pod-like teams, almost like Uber style company with a Simplified, even though it's so small. So there's a small, very small team that focuses on a piece of product. And they're the single point of contact to drive that building and releasing and launching and whatnot. So I think we've been able to optimize that at a very small team level where they feel like, hey, I'm running this myself. I'm the CEO of this team almost. They does a great job. And as people were signing up for Simplified, they were like, oh my God, I can do this too. I've been spending so much time and money on using this other tool. So we get a lot of customers from Inba, Social Pilot, Hootsuite, all these bigger companies that we have in the market. And we ask them often, like, why do you want to use Simplified? There's so many amazing big companies out there, right? And they always say the workflow is the one thing, I think, a plus or this massive attraction towards Simplified, where they feel like this one solution helps me a lot because now I can focus on getting the job done instead of switching between multiple tabs and apps. And your teams are sitting in all these like 2 seats and 3 seats in this app. So you waste a lot of money and resources. So I think we realized early on that, wow, so we got to build these apps, not for the sake of we want to have more apps, but the sake of that it actually solves a marketing team problem. Because marketing team looks like our software. That's what Simplified looks like. There's a designer, there's a video editor in your team, there's a copywriter, and there's a social media manager. That's all we offer, 4 tools, the big ones. So it represents the team that you already have. So it works really well and it's shit. This is what I need. And once they experience the product, they never go back.
One thing that I'm struggling, I would say wrestling with in the problem space at Produce Pay is realizing like who's using this tool, who's the user, and the answer is like a
Yeah.
whole like commercial org at a company with at a big marketing
Yeah.
distributor for like Costco or something like that. And so it's almost like it's not like user centric anymore. Like you have to think like the navigation for you guys is like the roles of a team. And so the
Yeah.
user is the org, the team at this point.
Yep.
And yeah, so I wonder if that's the trend now is like team based software and if you don't have a team, you have, it's almost like a surrogate team. Like you got the designer, you got the
Yeah.
editor, and then
Yeah.
you just have to know how to direct it. And then the tool fills in the knowledge gap. I feel like that's where software is going. And especially since a lot of these other companies that came first, like Hootsuite, like they only focused on like one thing, like the scheduling and all that. And now they're trying to branch out. But the patterns of social media management, like software, have been so well established that like a company like yours could come in, just buy a company like that, or just buy a license, audit their software, and then just recreate
There's
it
still
like a
jobs to
shadow
be done.
acquire. Yeah. Yeah, like jobs to be done or consistent year over year.
Rippling does it really well. We're modeled around Rippling, and HubSpot does it really well. Yeah, Rippling is the one. Yeah, I think they do payroll. They do all these things for HR now. I mean, just more than payroll. And you see like, oh, I got everything that I need here. Because when you look at the SMB market in America, you have to ask yourself, small businesses don't have resources, don't have a lot of time. So what jobs need to be done is a question. So how do we get to that goal faster is what we're selling, right? Like we'll help you get there faster because job is to create content online. And content is fragmented, right? It's from short, long form to writing, text, all these things that are happening. And you can't manage it all in these random apps that are sort of like slowing you down. And I see like that's where the workflows are being unlocked. And that's what we learned from Rippling, from HubSpot, from Zoho, from Freshworks, from ClickUp. There's so many companies that are doing this successfully. And I think we see that once you unlock the where, because it actually helps me achieve something, right? It helps me get the job done. So not only experimenting, I mean, we have millions of users now on the platform.
And there's not going to be a shortage of small businesses. If anything, there's going to be more and more small businesses. I think
Yes.
what the big American corporation, the way that it was and historically, is probably not going to be like that anymore. Like business and the economy is going to be a lot more fragmented to smaller, like mid-sized companies, like 500 and below. And I think this is exciting because then there's going to be a lot more choice of employers. Like you could find an employer that like aligns with your values more, and there's a lot more missions that you could support. And so there's not going to be a shortage of small businesses. So like it's pretty good to consolidate the tool, save them money, but also amplify. Yeah, that's great. AJ, I want to respect your time. I think before we wrap up, do you feel like there's any loose ends that like anything that hasn't been said that you feel like needs to be said before we sign off?
No, this was great. I think everything I had to say, I said it. But I think the last thing I'll leave the audience with, AI is one of those things where unless you try it, you don't feel confident what it can do and what you can achieve with it. I think so. People should definitely sign up for these apps, including Simplified, that offer free trials and free accounts. Try it and then see if that changes your workflow and gives you some time back and actually makes you more productive. And then definitely dive deep after it. But trying is the first thing. I still see a lot of people sitting on the sidelines waiting for this to come to you. I think you should like just head on, go there first and give it a shot.
So how could people find Simplified and connect with you and get started in that process of learning?
Yeah, we offer a free account on almost every app actually to start with. You can just go to simplified.com, search it online, just search Simplified as well online, you'll see us as the first result. And with me, you can just type Ajay Yadav, Simplified on Google, or just find me on Twitter, 𝗲𝗱-𝘂𝗀𝗂𝗿. And yep, reach out for anything. Happy to help.
Wow, you got the word simplified.com. That's probably another podcast of how you landed like the actual correct spelling, but very impressive. AJ, thank you so much for coming on the show. You have a good one. Hey listener, thanks again for listening to The Way of Product. As we power down today's session on the fusion of creativity and technology, Let's solidify that energy you've gotten from our dialogue today. If you've gleaned insights or strategies that could turbocharge your projects, I have a small but powerful ask. Swing by the platform where you're hearing this and leave a review. Think of it as your digital high five to us. It's a fuel that propels this content to more creative technologists like you, amplifying the impact of the shared knowledge. So until our next interview, keep pioneering and pushing the envelope. Thanks again for lending your ears and your imagination to our community. Catch you on the next download. Is everyone gone yet? Because this next offer is for you. And this is because you listened all the way to the end of this episode. Today's episode is sponsored by Aalchemy, a name you might not be familiar with yet, but one you'll definitely want to remember. I don't know about you, but most meetings are terrible. Long circular discussions, weeks with no progress. I was tired of that. Tired of good energy getting sucked out of potentially explosive creative sessions. So I finally decided to do something about it. That's why I started Aalchemy. Think of Aalchemy as a special ops for team collaboration. We're the ones you call for remote or on-site workshops where you need to get your product team aligned and moving without the usual drag. No more endless circles or feeling like you're herding cats. I've been there. I've been stuck in the muck of misalignment, watching the clock while creativity just fizzles out. That's not how breakthroughs happen. Aalchemy workshops are built differently. Think of it as a turbo boost for your team's productivity. So here's what you do. Visit wayofproduct.com/workshops and let's start turning those meeting groans into high fives. All right. Thanks for listening to the full episode. And remember, with Aalchemy, it's not just a meeting, it's a turning point. Talk to you soon.